Hello and welcome to my video demonstration of PnP4 for my project and portfolio 4 class. We'll start with the game's functionality. When you start it up, it's player 1's turn. You can press any of these buttons to drop a block corresponding to the active player in that column that's above it. And if a player has 4 in a row in any direction, that player wins the game. So that counts horizontally, vertically, or diagonally to the right or left. Then after the game is finished, you can press a button to drop the blocks out of the world. Here we are in the one and only script I have for the project. At the top we have the professionalism requirement, then we have my variables right here. Starting with void update, it reduces the delay variable by however much time has passed. Because if the delay is greater than 0, you cannot place a block. Also, if the game is finished, it will not let you play any blocks either. It will run a different function instead. Then it checks to see who the active player is. I have a boolean to save, some data. It's a smaller data type, so player 1 is false and player 2 is true. So here we have a check. It checks this array. It will go each column, and it checks the one below the active position, so it checks from 6 down to 0, and if there is something in that position one below, then in the current position it will place the active player into the array, saying that they've placed a block there. If there's, nothing in that column, then position 0 equals 0, and it will set, the bottom one to that player. Then it will create a new instance of whichever block prefab that player has and drop it into that column and change control to the other player. And this loop right here is just the same thing, but for black instead of red. And after it does that, it will check to see who won, and it adds the delay to stop them from adding too quickly. In the win check function, I have a couple nested for loops to check both the x coordinate and y coordinate of the array to see if there's 4 in a row. So you start at 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, and so that would be a horizontal check. And we have plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, and that would be a vertical check, which I actually have repeated down here because this checks positions 4 through 6, and this only checks 0 through 3, because if you were to try to do position 4 plus 3, the upper bound of my array is 6, 0 through 6, because there's 7 positions. So that would be an out-of-bounds exception. So I had to create a separate loop for that. And then here we have the diagonal up to the right, and here we have the diagonal down to the right, which is also up to the left. And then at the end of the function, we have it checked to see if there are no blank spaces. So if there's any blank spaces, it will end the loop and exit the function. But if there are no blank spaces left and neither player has won, throughout the whole check, then it will end in a draw. So here it just prints onto the screen which player won and marks the game as finished. And so if whenever you press a button, all of the buttons run both the place block function and the reset function, which is why you can press any block to reset the game. So if that's why I used finished as an integer instead of a boolean, because it will always do plus plus, which increases it by 1, and so if it's greater than 1 and not equal to 1, it will reset the game. Otherwise it would reset instantly. So that resets the array and starts the animation to drop all of the blocks. Then after all of the blocks drop, it ends that cycle and restarts the game.